Heavenly Hues, the thematic tafsir of the Quran. What does it mean, and how are we going to be studying that together, inshallah azza wa jal? So I'm going to just give you an overview and a breakdown of the subject, inshallah.
AlMaghrib Institute presents Q&A with Sheikh Yaser Birjas.
When it comes to studying the Quran, many people, they've developed, classical way of doing that, so we call this traditional tafsir. And now we have the contemporary style, which is considered thematic tafsir. So we're going to talk about the two different styles. What is traditional tafsir? How is it considered traditional? And what is thematic tafsir? So traditional tafsir, just to give you an idea, is when the alim takes the Quran from the beginning to the end and going over the ayat, one ayah at a time, one word at a time, given the meaning of each word and each sentence and so on. So that's considered traditional tafsir, like tafsir of Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, Imam al-Qurtubi, Imam al-Tabari, and other tafsir as well. And we're going to go into the history, how it was developed. Then we will talk about thematic tafsir, tafsir of the themes of the Quran. Is it considered new? We're going to realize that actually it's not new. It's classical as well. Some of the ulama from the past, they have covered certain subject of the Quran, such as Qasas al-Quran. They dedicated the entire tafsir, entire books only to talk about the stories of the Quran. Some they dedicated time for Amthal al-Quran, which means that the parables that were mentioned in the Quran. Another subject of classical thematic tafsir is Ahkam al-Quran, the rules of the Quran, fiqh rules of the Quran. So ulama, so they took them out from the Quran and they made interpretation specifically for that subject, inshallah. So we're going to learn about the classical work of the ulama on the subject of thematic tafsir, or heavily used as we call it. The other style is the contemporary style. So there are three kind of styles here. Number one, we take one word and we explain that. Number two, we take a subject and we cover that in details. And number three, we take one full surah and we break it down into different subjects and themes and so on. So we can inshallah give examples of each one of them azza wa jal as we move into the class. We will see how ulama, they use one word and they see the repetition, the context, the meaning, why was mentioned here and there and so on. Even the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why this name was mentioned more often with this name and other not with that name. So for example, with salah, we always hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. So why salah and zakah more often than salah and siyam and fasting, for example? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about himself, in certain contexts, he says, غَفُورٌ Rahim. So he's oft forgiving, most merciful. Why do they come together compared to other names of Allah azza wa jal? So that kind of focus on words of the Quran. Another focus is entire surah, like Surah Al-Ikhlas, for example, known as the Surah Al-Tawheed, the surah that describes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best way, and it gives the meaning of the oneness of Allah azza wa jal. So we're going to discuss the theme of Tawheed from one particular surah. And then we have the different subject, different themes. And that's when we divide that to Aqidah. We divide it to, next to it will be fiqh. And then we have the stories and seerah. And as we cover this subject, we also talk about the etiquettes as they were mentioned in the Quran. So this is a breakdown of heavenly hues. And I'm sure, inshallah, each and every one of us will find something interesting for themselves as they come to this class. Therefore, my advice, my nasiha for each and every one of you, as you come, inshallah, to register for this class with Allah azza wa jal, to go back and review the Quran on your own. See what are the topics and themes that interest you in the Quran. What do you want to learn about that you see around you from this life, and you would like to know what the Quran says about it? For example, people, they would say, well, I'm interested to know what the Quran says about the concept of beauty. What does it mean exactly? Some people, they say, well, I want to know what the Quran says about, global warming, climate change, the environment issue, for example. Let's see what the Quran says about these issues. Go ahead, go into the Quran. See what subject you have in your mind. What does your heart desire to know more about the Quran, inshallah ta'ala, and the themes of the Quran? Bring these questions with you to the class, inshallah, and hopefully we can have a fruitful discussion over this subject and these themes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.